Good evening guys, welcome to Vishan Academy. Daily Current Affairs February 25 date kana current affairs paakalam. First news is Supreme Court issues notice to Kerala in endosulfan case. State yet to disburse compensation. The Supreme Court on Thursday issued notice on a petition seeking contempt action against Kerala for not disbursing 5 lakh each as compensation to the victims of endosulfan pesticide exposure. Endosulfan appears as a brown or colorless crystalline solid with pungent odor. The endosulfan அப்படிங்கிற அந்த கெமிக்கல் வந்து brown கலரில் brown அப்படின்னா colorless crystalline solid மாதிரி இருக்கும். More dense than water and nearly insoluble in water. Toxic by inhalation. சுவாசிக்கிறதுக்கு நச்சு காற்றை வெளியிடக்கூடியது. Skin absorption. அதே நேரத்தில் ஒரு injection used as a pesticide, fungicide or herbicide. பூச்சிக்கொல்லியாக பயன்படுத்தக்கூடியது. Endosulfan has been used globally as a pesticide since 1950s to control a variety of insects including whiteflies, aphids, leafhoppers, potato beetles and cabbage worms. ஆனால் இப்போ வந்து சுப்ரீம் கோர்ட் என்ன சொல்லியிருக்காங்க அப்படின்னு பார்த்தீங்கன்னா they issued notice to Kerala endosulfan case வந்து 5 lakhs வந்து காம்பன்சேஷனாக கொடுக்கணும் அப்படின்ற மாதிரி சொல்லியிருக்காங்க. Moody's raises India's 2022 GDP outlook to 9.5% from 7%. Moody's Investor Service called up its 2022 growth forecast for India to 9.5%, which is further upside potential from an earlier projection of 7%. முன்னாடி 7% சொல்லியிருந்தாங்க, இப்போ வந்து 9.5% அப்படின்னு சொல்லியிருக்காங்க. Siding with the union budget's focus on capital spending, which will help consolidate the economic recovery even as it identified high oil prices and supply distortions as growth dampeners, the agency expects 5.5% growth in 2023. அதே மாதிரி 2023 பொறுத்த வரைக்கும் 5.5% growth வந்து எக்ஸ்பெக்ட் பண்ணதா சொல்லியிருக்காங்க. Noted that the agency expects 5.5% growth in 2023. It noted that these estimates translated into 8.4% growth rate for India's financial year 2022 to 2023, followed by 6.5% in financial year 24. இப்போ பாருங்கள் 2023 வந்து 5.5% growth எக்ஸ்பெக்ட் பண்ணுறாங்க. அடுத்து 2022 23 ஃபினான்ஷியல் இயருக்கு 8.4%. அதே மாதிரி ஃபினான்ஷியல் இயர் 24க்கு 6.5%. News. Third news is understanding the Indus Waters Treaty. The Indus River Basin has 6 rivers: Indus, Jhelum, Chenab, Ravi, Beas, Satluj, originating from Tibet and flowing through the Himalayan ranges to enter Pakistan, ending in the south of Karachi. In 1947, the line of partition aside formed line geographical boundaries for India and Pakistan, also cut the Indus river system into two. Both the sides were dependent on water from the Indus River basin for their irrigation. Therefore, infrastructure and equitable distribution was needed. Initially, the Inter-Dominion Accord of May 1948 was adopted, under which India would supply water to Pakistan in exchange for an annual payment. This agreement, however, soon disintegrated as both the countries could not agree upon common interpretations. In 1951, in the backdrop of the water sharing dispute, both the countries applied to the World Bank for funding of their respective irrigation projects on Indus and its tributaries, which is when the bank offered to mediate the conflict. Finally, in 1960, after nearly a decade of negotiations, an agreement was reached between these two countries, leading to the signing of the Indus Waters Treaty by former Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru and then President of Pakistan Ayub Khan. The former President of the World Bank also signed the document. The treaty allocated the three western rivers Indus, Chenab and Jhelum to Pakistan for unrestricted use, bearing certain non-consumptive agricultural and domestic uses by India, and the three eastern rivers Ravi, Beas and Sutlej to India for unrestricted usage. So then the next news is NCW seeks report on complaint from Higher Education Department. Guest lecturer's body had sought maternity leave, but department remained silent. The National Commissioner for Women has sought an action taken report from the State Higher Education Department regarding a complaint of discrimination. National Commission for Women பற்றி ஒரு சில விஷயங்கள் பார்ப்போம். The National Commission for Women is the statutory body of the government in India, generally concerned with advising the government on all policy matters affecting women. இதுதான் வந்து NCW ஓட objective. It was established on 31 January 1992 under the provisions of the Indian Constitution as defined in the 1990 National Commission for Women Act. So choose the correct statement given below. Endosulfan is denser than water, is soluble in water. Indus Water Treaty was signed in the year. National Commission for Women came into effect from which year? So the first one is endosulfan is denser than water. So that's the correct option. In the Indus Water Treaty in the year of 1960. National Commission for Women came into effect from 1992. Then Navy gets 12 P-8I aircraft from Boeing. Aircraft manufacturer Boeing has delivered the 12th P-8I long-range maritime patrol aircraft to the Indian Navy. This completes the follow-on clause for 4 additional P-8I aircraft contracted in 2016. The P-8I is an integral part of the Indian Navy's fleet and has surpassed 35,000 flight hours since it was inducted in 2013. In May 2021, the US State Department approved the possible sale of 6 additional P-8I aircraft and related equipment, a deal estimated to cost $2.42 billion. Earlier in November 2019, the Defense Acquisition Council approved the procurement of the 6 aircraft. The number was cut down from 10 to 6 due to budgetary constraints, as also the Navy undertaking fleet rationalism and deciding to go for long endurance unmanned platform. Air control must for operations at all levels, saying IAF chief's growth of aviation had revolutionized the character of warfare. China's latest demonstration of physically moving one of its disabled satellites into the graveyard orbit was bringing in newer threats in the race to weaponize the space domain, hitherto considered relatively safe. So, Air Chief Marshal B.R. Chaudhary said this: control of air has become a prerequisite for conduct of operations at all levels. Aerospace power continues to evolve and mutate, primarily fueled by induction of new technology, emergence of new threats, and evolution of new paradigms for war fighting. The unparalleled growth of aviation had revolutionized the character of warfare. The inherent speed, reach, responsiveness, and accuracy of air power make it a preferred choice for most operations. No other held has seen such a rapid transformation in technology as air power has seen in the last 120 years of its existence. The next news is crisis, a chance for India to export more wheat. 18% of global exports are from Russia. The Russia-Ukraine crisis might have given India an opportunity to export more wheat in the global markets, and domestic exporters should tap this opportunity. Sources: India's central pool stood at 24.2 million tons, twice more than the buyer. The strategic needs: more than a quarter of the world's wheat export comes from Russia and Ukraine. So world's wheat export maximum பார்த்தீங்கன்னா more than a quarter வந்து எங்கேருந்து வருது அப்படின்னா ரஷ்யா அண்ட் உக்ரைன்லேருந்து தான். So Russia is the world's largest exporter of wheat, accounting for more than 18% of international exports. In 2019, Russia and Ukraine together exported more than a quarter of world's wheat. Egypt, Turkey, and Bangladesh bought more than half of Russia's wheat this year. And Egypt is the world's biggest importer of wheat, spending more than $4 billion annually. Russia and Ukraine cover more than 70% of Egypt's imported wheat demand. Turkey is also a big spender with 74% of its imports worth $1.6 billion coming from Russia and Ukraine in 2019. Now the next news is IOC buys first Russian Urals oil in 2 years. Indian Oil Corporation, the country's top refiner, has bought Russian Urals crude for the first time in 2 years after spot differential slumped, according to the trade sources and refinitiv data. The opportunity for India to buy the Russian flagships grade that typically heads to Europe across after its discount to global benchmark. Brent fell to the widest since 2020, hit by rising tension between Russia and West over Ukraine. In a tender seeking high sulfur oil, IOC bought 2 million barrels of Urals crude from European traders Vitol and Tragura, which will be delivered in April. Then is a sports news. Medvedev is world number 1 as Djokovic loses. Serb suffers a shock defeat to Wesley. Novak Djokovic lost his Dubai quarterfinal and his world number 1 ranking in Go on Thursday as he suffered 6-4, 7-6 reverse at the hands of Czech world number 1-2-3 Wesley. Competing in his first tournament of the season, Djokovic needed to at least reach the semi-finals to try and stop Russia's Daniil Medvedev from replacing him at the top of the rankings. But Wesley had other ideas as the qualifier improved his career record against Djokovic to 2-0, a result that will see Medvedev become the first man since 2004 outside the Big Four. Those Big Fours are Djokovic, Rafael Nadal, Roger Federer, and Andy Murray to occupy number 1 ranking on Monday. So the fast facts: Medvedev will be the new ATP number 1, replacing Djokovic, who would have held the sport for the record 361 weeks. The last ATP number 1 not named Roger Federer, Rafael Nadal, Djokovic, or Andy Murray was Andy Roddick. Wesley is one of just 3 players to beat Djokovic multiple times without losing one. Czech is 2-0 against Serb, as or Nick Kyrgios and Marat Safin. And here are the 5 questions. Navy gets dash P-8I aircraft from Boeing. Present Air Chief Marshal. So what's the answer for this? First question. Navy gets P-8I aircraft from Boeing. So the answer is 12th. Present Air Chief Marshal. So present Air Chief Marshal is V.R. Chowdhury. Which country export 18% of wheat across globally? So that is Russia. Indian Oil Corporation buys first Urals oil from Russia. Medvedev belongs to which country? So Medvedev belongs to Russia. Thank you guys.